Mary Jo Kopechne could have survived for hours inside that sinking car. Divers said she was positioned near an air pocket, hands braced, head tilted up, fighting to breathe. Ted Kennedy said he tried to save her. Then he swam away. Then he waited until morning to call anyone. When he finally sat with her mother, Gwen, in private, she expected an apology. She expected answers. What she got instead haunted her until the day she died. In 1989, she finally revealed what Kennedy told her in those meetings. And it wasn't what anyone imagined. Mary Jo Kopechne entered the world on July 26, 1940 in Willsbar, Pennsylvania as the only child of Joseph and Gwen. Her father sold insurance and her mother stayed home. But the family's story went back much further. Both sides had lived in Luzerne County for more than 250 years, surviving the kind of rough coal town life where mines collapsed often and men rarely grew old. Her grandfathers worked in the Wyoming Valley mines where accidents were so common that families waited for every whistle, wondering if their husbands or sons would walk back through the door. By the time Mary Jo arrived, the mines were worn out, and the town had just gone through a terrible flood. Her parents wanted something better, something safer, something that would let their daughter grow without hearing the constant rumble of coal cars. So, they moved to Berkeley Heights, New Jersey when she was still an infant. And that one choice shifted her life from generations of hard labor toward a path filled with books, ambition, and possibility. Growing up, she lived in a strict Catholic home where schoolwork and faith were taken seriously. She went through parochial schools and graduated from Our Lady of the Valley High School in 1958. Her teachers were Dominican sisters who pushed discipline, kindness, and service. And those lessons shaped her more than she knew at the time. These were the early years of the civil rights movement. And even from a distance, she absorbed the idea that people deserve fairness. Her classmates remembered her as bright and warm, someone who took school seriously, but never lost her softness. Those quiet impressions followed her into adulthood where she would eventually build a reputation as a political worker who combined skill with a gentle, steady heart. When she graduated from Caldwell College for Women in 1962 with a business administration degree, she stepped straight into the world determined to help others. A professional degree like that was rare for women back then, but she treated it like a tool instead of a trophy. She headed to Montgomery, Alabama at a time when the fight for civil rights was boiling in the streets. She taught typing and shorthand to black students at Montgomery Catholic High School and also worked on the school newspaper. Her time there was short, but it left a deep mark. She saw segregation up close and tried to make a difference through education, believing that strong skills could give people a chance to break free from limits forced on them. Not long after that, she moved to Washington, D.C. to work first for Senator George Smathers and later for Senator Robert F. Kennedy. By her mid-20s, she was rising fast, building a career that blended her compassion with her talent. Her inspiration came straight from John F. Kennedy's 1961 inaugural address where he called on Americans to give rather than take. Those words settled into her mind and pushed her to make bold decisions. When she left for Montgomery after college, she walked right into an environment where violence, racism, and tension sat everywhere. She joined the mission of St. Jude, a Catholic institution that cared for black and white residents when most places were strictly divided. The mission ran medical programs, education efforts, and food services, and it stood in the center of the civil rights movement. Marches passed through the city. Harassment was common. Yet, she stayed, working long days to help families who had nowhere else to turn. That choice said everything about her. She believed service mattered even when the world around her felt dangerous. At the mission of St. Jude, she spent her days teaching, organizing volunteers, and stepping into any role that needed filling. In 1965, when the Selma to Montgomery March brought national attention to the city, the mission hosted the Stars for Freedom rally where Joan Baez and Mahalia Jackson performed. Mary Jo moved through all of it, helping wherever she could while living with the constant knowledge that violence might erupt. Still, she refused to leave. She was young, but she carried herself with conviction, trusting that small acts could help hold a community together. During this time, she taught business classes at Montgomery Catholic High School. She guided students through typing drills, helped them learn shorthand, and encouraged them to write boldly for the school paper. Many remembered her later as confident and fun. Someone who made her classroom feel alive. She connected easily with teenagers, asked what they thought and pushed them to think wider. Even though she stayed for only 1 year, the memories stuck and former students spoke about her well into adulthood, describing her as someone who made them feel seen and capable. Her impact at the school became part of her legacy in Alabama. Students talked about how she carried herself with quiet confidence, how she encouraged them not only to learn but to stand for something. Her humility made her approachable and her strength made her admirable. Her influence stayed long after she moved on. And even years later, teachers and alumni recalled the young woman who treated every student as someone with potential. At one point, she received an offer that would have changed her life in a different way. The Kennedy family wanted her to become a governess for the children. Many would have accepted immediately, but she turned it down. She wanted a career built on her own achievements, not a role tied to a powerful family's private life. She chose politics instead, showing the same independence she had carried since her school days. In 1963, she arrived in Washington, D.C., ready to build a political career. She worked first for Senator Smathers, then moved to Robert F. Kennedy's staff in 1964 after he entered the Senate. Her energy, loyalty, and skill helped her stand out. When RFK launched his 1968 presidential campaign, she became one of 6 young women placed in the Boiler Room, a cramped, windowless room where the core strategic work took place. She spent her days and nights handling sensitive information, tracking delegates, and writing materials that shaped the campaign. Her work in 1968 placed her in the center of RFK's run. She helped draft the speech he delivered on March 16, 1968. When he officially announced his candidacy, she dealt with speechwriters, field managers, and party officials every day. Her main responsibility was Pennsylvania, a crucial state in the race. She tracked changing loyalties, predicted delegate movements, and advised the campaign on strategy. Long nights were normal. Sometimes she worked straight through until morning, typing major speeches while aides revised points around her. Her colleagues often described her as the sharpest political mind in the room. The Boiler Room Girls were an elite team made up of Mary Jo, Rosemary Keogh, Esther Newberg, Nance Lyons, Mary Ellen Lyons, and Susan Tannenbaum. They worked under tremendous pressure, sorting through delegate numbers, analyzing data from battleground states, and getting critical updates into the right hands. The room was noisy and hot, but they thrived in it. They were trusted enough to travel with RFK and discuss strategy face to face. Mary Jo, the oldest at 27, served as the anchor of the group, the one everyone else relied on. Her control over Pennsylvania's delegate intelligence made her one of RFK's most important behind-the-scenes strategists. Her instincts were strong enough that her predictions often proved accurate. She knew the state's political landscape better than most seasoned operatives. The hours were long and the pressure intense, but the Boiler Room Girls never wavered. Every day brought new updates, new shifts, new numbers to track. Mary Jo and her colleagues handled it all with loyalty and grit. Their work was essential, and RFK trusted them with details that few outside the room ever saw. Their dedication helped keep the campaign running during one of the most unpredictable political years in American history. Mary Jo's admiration for Robert Kennedy grew into a powerful force in her life. She believed deeply in his message and saw him as a leader who could change the country. In 1967, she worked at his home in Hickory Hill through the night, typing a major speech on the Vietnam War while advisors debated each line. She was known as the aide who stayed awake until sunrise to get everything right. She attended family gatherings, helped with tasks beyond politics, and viewed Kennedy as someone worth giving everything for. Her devotion became part of her identity. Then came June 5, 1968. RFK was assassinated at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, and Mary Jo was there that night. The loss crushed her. She rode on the funeral train carrying his body from New York to Arlington and helped pack up his office afterward. She told friends she could feel Kennedy everywhere in that building, which made it impossible to return to her old routine. The grief settled into her life like a weight she could not shake. She tried to ease back into politics by briefly working for George McGovern's Kennedy proxy campaign, but the memories were too strong. Eventually, she stepped away, taking time to travel and recover. Her father later said politics had been her life, and losing RFK broke something inside her that never fully healed. Later in 1968, she joined Matt Rhee Associates, a pioneering political consulting firm. They assigned her to Colorado to recruit volunteers for Governor Stephen McNichols's Senate campaign against Peter Dominick. It was a tough race, and despite her hard work, McNichols lost in November. Even so, colleagues praised her dedication and resolve, noting how well she handled a difficult campaign. By mid-1969, she had moved on to Thomas J. Whelan's mayoral campaign in Jersey City. This time the outcome was different. And Mary Jo's work was described as exceptional. She seemed ready for a bright future in political consulting, carrying the kind of talent and heart that made her stand out in every room. She was just getting started when her story came to its sudden end in July 1969. A moment that froze her promising life in time. On the night of July 18, 1969, Mary Jo Kopechne stepped into a moment that would change everything for her and for one of America's most powerful families. She was 28 and had spent the evening at a reunion for the Boiler Room Girls, the small group of campaign workers who had fought through Robert Kennedy's 1968 run with fierce loyalty. The cottage on Chappaquiddick Island felt warm and familiar, and people drifted in and out of conversations while music played softly in the background. Around 11, she left with Ted Kennedy without taking her purse, her hotel key, or even telling her roommate. That quiet choice became the first strange thread in a night that was already shifting towards something darker. As they drove away, the island air felt calm. But inside that Oldsmobile, the path ahead was already headed toward tragedy.